Yeah. And welcome back to another edition of the MLB Inside the Diamond podcast. I'm your host, Tom Johnston. I'm joined once again by LaMarr Fields. How you doing, brother? How's your weekend month of May and April been?
Been pretty good. Can't complain. How about you?
It's getting better, making some moves. So I mean that's all that counts. Just, staying positive in a tough situation, but
Yeah.
we're making it through. That's all that really can happen. Now, coming up soon, in fact, like at the end of this month, which like ends on Tuesday or Wednesday anyway, uh, baseball is going to be played for 2 weeks, or 2 months, I should say, not 2 weeks. But in the end, there's been a little bit of a shift in certain divisions. We're starting to gain a little clarity of what teams are going to, in ways we say, be the contenders, in other ways be the pretenders. But for the I want to start with the month of April because we've seen some teams that were a little bit shocking. For one, I did not see the Pirates they were going to do with 19 franchise wins. A little more on that in a few. But Lamar, I want to get your thought, especially on the Rays and the Pirates. What did you see from those two teams in particular that afforded them the month that of April that they did have, and what do you see of them now that might say they're, I wouldn't say in a decline, but they're not as strong as per se they were in the month of April?
Well, the Rays always have a field a solid team, at least 500 above, but they go off to that hot start. And been been riding high, and they got second in batting, tied first in batting average at the team with 271, 38 wins, and 100 lead the leading home runs, 100 home runs. So they're hitting for average and hitting the ball out the park. And they pitching well. They fifth in ERA with 3.71 ERA. So you doing everything well. Just gotta you ain't gonna play lights out forever, but you just gotta coast through the storm. They 6-4 in their last 10 games, so that's okay. They played really well at home, 25-6. Need to get a little bit better on the road. They over 500 on the road, 13-10, but they could be a little bit better. But the Pirates, yeah, that month of April, man, they did well. But after April, they kind of slumped off a little bit, 4-6 the last 10 games. But they got a young team. As long as they keep playing hard, man, keep fighting. At least they're not the worst team in the baseball no more.
No, that's true. No, when I look at the Rays, I see great pitching. That's what I do see, and that's a common thing that I seen with the Pirates in the month of April too. Is the pitching was there? I believe they had like it was over like 10 quality starts from their pitching staff, and Mitch Keller was like leading the way in a lot of that stuff. And you know, I'm not here to say that Rich Hill adds any value, but I mean, he is a veteran pitcher that, has been on some very talented ball clubs in the past. And he's played in big markets to understand that maybe the pressure here in Pittsburgh isn't too much. But at the same time, 19 franchise wins in the month of April, that was a franchise record for the
Yeah.
Pirates, something that I haven't quite found like very astonishing because I'm just like, wait, like y'all, it's the first time y'all won like 19 games in the month of April. But I think whenever you look at it, you also have to look at who the teams actually faced. I know at least from the Pirates' perspective, they faced the Reds in 7 games, and then they swept Boston in Boston, which if you look at, today, like that's huge. And then, to go on the road to Colorado and sweep the Rockies 3 games, and then to come back home and to sweep the Reds and win 4 games and stuff. I mean, that's a whole week worth of games played that you win. The small things do add up, and them beating on the White Sox their first home stand, or the first weekend in April, that was pretty huge too. So I mean, whenever you look at it, the Pirates swept 3 series, but then besides like the first weekend series that they had, they pretty much won every other series. And, that's even key. Even taking 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers, whenever you really look at it, they probably could have swept that series as well. So, and whenever you look at it, though, I mean, you also got to look at, okay, where the teams that they faced in April, and we're talking about both the Rays and the Pirates here for that matter, is how many of those teams are actually contenders versus how many teams are actually, in a race? Because if you look at the Rays, they're in the AL East where every team in that division is above 500. And, it's crazy because you haven't even seen some of these divisional games cross paths yet, and we can get into that later on. But, whenever it comes to the Pirates, like they've already faced the Reds 7 times. And those divisional games matter more than ever now because every single team in the MLB is facing each other this year. So it's like the less divisional games you have, the more they actually matter. But whenever you look at the divisional standings, the Cardinals are kind of down there. They're having a iffy year right now, but they're starting to turn things around to a little extent. But the Reds are at the bottom of the division. The Brewers, the Pirates, I believe they have faced Milwaukee once. I'm not too sure, but even so, like I mean, those are teams right now in the hunt of it. But then if you like look at the other teams that they face, like I mean, even though Boston might be where they're at in their division, they're still winning. So it's like, but no, not a lot of people have a lot of high expectations for the Red Sox, though. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, Pirates taking care of business. I mean, beat the teams you're supposed to beat, and that's how it goes. I mean, Pirates last year, last couple years, the Pirates wasn't winning any games like that. So just you only can play who you play. Just play hard and see what happens.
Yeah, I know another team that was catching a lot of eyes, especially in like the month of April, was the New York Yankees because I believe they finished the month of April at 15-15, and a lot of people were like kind of getting scared. But then, whenever you look at where the Yankees were in April at the end and where they are kind of right now, it's really kind of a little tough because they're battling the injury bug. They're getting certain guys like starting to come back, but you got this rookie phenomenon in Anthony Volpe that's just really like he's honestly shown that New York is kind of an easy place to play when it's really not. What are your thoughts on the Yankees and where they have finished April, but more importantly, where they are now? Because now it's like they're starting to show some of their signs of who they are as their identity, but like certain things are starting to click. I know Volpe is really just starting to click for them. He is being an answer for a rookie that a lot of people, you might ask, if you put other rookies in that same position that Volpe is in, like, do they produce the same way as he is?
Well, the Yankees gonna be the Yankees. They're gonna be up there. I mean, that's a tough division, man. Everybody over 500 in that division, so they're gonna beat up on each other. Yankees just gotta get healthy. They can get Stanton back, and he can remain healthy for a long period of time. If they can ever get Rodon on the heel, he can act extra boost to the pitching staff in the second half of the season if you ever get back. But I mean, the Yankees are where they are. They started slow, but like any team with good players, they turn it around and get going. It's a long baseball. 162 games. It's a long season.
So, oh, it is. I mean, it's a very long season at that point, and that's why we ultimately say, like you got to wait the first month or two because the teams just they don't show up. I remember like even last year with the Yankees, how like they went on that insane winning streak at one point, and then they also hit a big losing streak. And so many people were calling for Aaron Boone's like head to like be no longer the manager of the Yankees. And it's like I tell people, like, okay, like imagine this. Would you rather your team be on a hot win streak and then go into the playoffs and lose like in the first round and you're just like, what happened? Or would you rather your team actually have both a hot and a cold streak in a season and then like actually advance into the playoffs and then like quit calling for the manager's head because obviously he's doing something right that most other managers aren't doing. I mean, he's managing a ball club, but I mean, it's like two months into the season, like, listen, you're gonna face teams that you should beat, and then there's gonna be teams that you probably should have beat that you didn't, and then there's gonna be teams that, obviously it's like, hey, I mean, a loss is a loss, but at the end of the day, you can't win everything. But I mean, it's crazy. I mean, AL East is a tough division right now. I mean, everybody above 500, the Rays and the Orioles, where they're at, and that brings us to the end of May. And as much as it is, this is a hot topic question because, and I really want to get your thoughts on this, considering you're familiar with the A's to an extent. You live out in the Bay Area, and I don't get this. And help me understand this, okay? The Oakland A's ownership buys new land in Vegas. Now, it's not necessarily downtown Vegas, but it's within the Vegas area. And, I just don't get this. Okay? I know Oakland A's fans are passionate because I know of them, from going to Penn State, but that's besides the point. My whole point is this, okay? What does buying new land and moving a team that you're still going to have the same ownership? What's the point of doing that? Like, why not just build land or buy land in the Oakland area if there is any available to do it? Because you're going to be the same owner. I don't get it.
Yeah, that's because when they get that new stadium, they're gonna change their mindset because they're gonna have to change their mindset if they're gonna be in Vegas. They're gonna they're gonna attract more money, and there's gonna be more money coming in, and they can't be cheap. They can't be cheap spending in Vegas, or it'll be all bad.
I mean, you can't really be cheap spending in California either. I mean,
Well,
look.
they can, but the A's ownership, this was their mindset. They ain't spend no money because they want to be sorry. They want to get out. They want to get out of Oakland.
But I mean, there's ways to improve the stadium. I mean,
Well, but it's I don't know. I mean, it's always a fight with Oakland, and Oakland always want to. I mean, they had a stadium. They have a stadium. They had a stadium proposed in the Jack London Square area that, for every reason, I don't know if the A's or the city of Oakland. And look at the Raiders. Raiders went to Vegas because they couldn't get a deal done in Oakland. The Warriors went to San Francisco. I mean, from the way that ownership don't want to be there, and you see how stuff is happening. You see they talked to Vegas for 3 or 4 months, and stuff is happening like that. They've been trying to work a deal for Oakland for years.
no, I mean, I get that. I mean, I trust you on that. I mean, it's we don't have access to what the negotiations are like, so
Yep.
we can only go off of what we see and what we hear. And I mean, in some ways, I guess it
Yeah.
goes to show, Oakland doesn't want to improve it. I mean, that's sad, but at the same time, Oakland should be wanting to improve it in some capacity. It's just it never hurts. I mean, hey, if a move to Vegas helps spark the team, then it helps spark the team. I mean, who am I to say? I mean, maybe it's hard to say anymore. But I mean, I just want thoughts because I just don't understand the logic of it. But at the same time, I guess I do. Sometimes it's just a change of scenery can be all that really helps somebody out. I mean, I know they're still looking for public funding and stuff like that. But I mean, hey, maybe a move in the right direction can be a
Yeah,
good
the,
one.
yeah, the stadium proposal looks nice.
Now, let me ask you this: do you think it's an insult to A's fans with this whole entire situation, or do you think that it's like not an insult to the Oakland A's fans?
A little bit of both, but I mean, it's crazy to me how fast stuff is happening when they start trying to shift their attention to Vegas, and they've been working for Oakland with Oakland for years. But like you said, you never know with both sides. Both sides don't really know who fault it is. I mean, the A's ownership don't spend money, but I think they're not spending money because they want to try to field a sorry team so fans wouldn't show up, so it give them an excuse to move, and that's what it looks like's happening.
I mean that's true
Yeah.
because yeah, I mean, I really don't have a counter argument to that because that is true. Sometimes it's just you kind of do just make the excuse to not do something. That way, it's like you can evidently get what you want because it's just like, okay, well, if where I'm currently at isn't like going to accept an offer, and truth be told, I mean, both sides should really look at it with this mindset as some offers better than no offer, but it's just like also if like you're the host city and you're not proposing anything, it's just I mean, what good does it really do then? It's just like, your fans want to get upset, but like, I mean, it's disastrous. Oakland's now holding a lot of records in Major League Baseball history that you per se don't really want to hold, like the lowest attendance in like per game. And I mean,
Hmm.
it's sad, but I mean, I'm not sure how many Oakland A's fans from the Oakland area are actually going to go out to Vegas to watch the team, but I mean, it's in close proximity, I guess, if you want to travel a couple hours. I mean, it's
A
hard
lot
to
of
say.
money. A
I mean, it
lot of
could.
money.
Oh, it could be. I mean, oh yeah. I mean, it is. It is a lot of money, but it now now that we're to the almost entering the 2 mark season or the 2 month mark of the season, and you see where teams are at. What team would you say is surprising to you, meaning that you didn't expect them to be where they are? And then what's a team that you would say you are quite not like you're kind of in reciprocal, is in like you're surprised that they're actually where they're at?
Surprised the Cardinals are not playing better. They usually always have a solid team, but right now the record is Cardinals record is 24-30. You still got time to turn around. Only 4 games back of division, but yeah, they usually better. And also the Padres, 24-28. With all that talent on their team, they should be better than that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I would honestly say I would agree with the Padres. Just because even though you might be in the AL or in the NL West for that matter, like honestly, the only team that really can run away with that division is the Dodgers. But like your ownership is spending money. I mean, they're making the investment into the team. I mean, give granted it's 2 months, but at this rate, it's like I tell people, this is where you start to really see a shift in like who the actual teams are. Now, don't get us wrong, they're only 4 games like below 500, and they can drastically turn it around. They can go on, a very well extended winning streak for that matter, in the coming weeks or so. We don't know what can happen, but anything could possibly happen. And it's one of those things, you got to ask yourself. I mean, they were without Fernando Tatis for 20 games, and that could possibly put a little bit of a dent, but that's honestly no excuse for the other guys that they got, like, Manny Machado and stuff to like, step it up. And it's just it is what it is. But in a team that I would say that's pretty surprising that I actually didn't expect them to be where they at. And the only reason I'm going this route is because I'm just shocked at who the team has and stuff, and that's the Pirates because I did not see 19 games being won in the first month. But more importantly, I really did not actually expect them to be in really the thick of things where they're at. And I can honestly say there's a few reasons why I see where they're at is because the team overall is having fun, but they also have a sense of belief that, like, Bob Nutting finally signed a player in Pirates history to over $100 million contract. That's 8 years, and that's Brian Reynolds. And it shoots belief system up that, hey, if I produce, I could actually stay here and potentially get a long-term deal. And I think it actually goes to see that, you know, front office sees the value in Reynolds and Reynolds sees the value in the team. And it goes to show that, hey, like belief shot up. Like, hey, like, this is an extremely possible thing. It's just a matter of it actually being fully like locked out and stuff. But I mean, you need to see other guys besides Reynolds step up, and you need to see the organization draft and develop better to build around a guy like Reynolds. But I also think it's, guys like, Andrew McCutchen, a veteran that's, doing what he's doing on the Pirates. It's not like he's doing anything spectacular, but he's also bringing the leadership presence to the team. And he's also has playoff experience, but he's also a veteran that's been around the league that, the younger guys can rely on him for that kind of, perspective. And I think that, all of that together, that can all be like a talent hotbed of a sort to, move the team in the right direction. So that would be that. Now, I do have two other questions, and one of them is right now, which player surprises you more, Juan Soto or Julio Rodriguez on where they're at right now?
Julio Rodriguez only batting like 234 with 8 homers.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, it's still early. Still got time to turn around. So he can get on a hot streak and he can raise that average up a little bit. And turn around. Soto got 10 home runs. The batting average is a little low, but he'll get it. He'll get it turned around too. But yeah, Julio Rodriguez, managed a little bit more out of him.
I would say I'm kind of surprised, about both. It's like you look at certain other guys that like in Aaron Judge, for example. I mean, and I'm not here to compare people, but I think that if you look at a player that's really surprising, and you look at like Juan Soto and Julio Rodriguez, and you look at like Aaron Judge, you can literally look and say, well, like the 62 wins really didn't, or the 62 home runs really didn't like affect Judge because like he's still on a roll in a kind of extent. Now, if I were to say the two, I would probably say I'm more surprised in Julio, but I actually would like to see like last year based off analytics and performance where like he really started to take off because it's like, in the first month or two, you're kind of gauging, your performance in a way. You're trying to like break off the rust of whether you were in a WBC or spring training, and you're trying to look at the progression of it, and that's one thing. But, in some ways, there are going to be guys that they catch a hot streak and, stuff like that. But, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's even like, a guy like Trey Turner, for example. He was ripping it up in the World Baseball Classic and it got Philly fans all excited. And now it's just, he even came out and said, it's like, yeah, to be honest with you, like, I stink right now. Like, it's just, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's just, he's either not seeing the ball right or, it's just he got a little more juiced up, like in a good way, not steroid way. He just got a little bit more juiced up and energized because he was playing for his country. And a lot of times, that brings out the best in people because of the name you're playing for on the front. I mean, it's one thing to rep a city in the US, but whenever you're repping your country as a collective whole, usually bring out more in you and the best in you. And, it just, it is what it is. I mean, hey, I mean, now let me ask you this based off of what you see Judge doing right now, do you think he could actually go be on pace to break his own record that he set last year?
Yeah, it could be. We'll see. They're getting close to that Barry Bonds thing where every pitch is almost getting a home run. But they need to get some protection behind them. Stanton back and
Oh, yeah.
playing well, then he really be able to break it.
Oh, that's the key is you need protection in front of him and behind it because the last thing you really want is him to get the Bonds or the Pujols treatment where
Yeah,
like nobody's gonna pitch to him because like you don't got guys in front or behind him that can really protect him. And I mean that's the key when you got a guy like whenever you got a guy like Judge. I mean it's just there's two other things that whenever you're getting ready to answer that, there's also two other questions I got. And one of them is these pitching ejections we've seen in like the past 2 months. It's honestly been catching a lot of people off guard. And here's what I really want to get at with this is rosin is a legal substance. And that is right, it's legal. And, rosin mixed with sweat can cause some sticky, like it can cause, your glove or your hand to be sticky. We've seen it with Max Scherzer. We've seen it with a few Yankees pitchers too. I don't get why these players are getting ejected whenever they are washing their hands in front of MLB officials and they're doing it the way that they're being asked to, and then yet they come back and it's just like, oh yeah, well, and I mean Max Scherzer's explaining himself. It's just like, why are you ejecting these pitchers? Like they're not doing nothing wrong. It's just they're doing what they're asked to do, and as the game goes on, I mean, I'm going to be sweaty again and, it's going to be called putting in work. And I'm also going to want to use rosin again. Like, it's not like the pitcher's doing anything illegal, but I mean, what do you think's up? What do you think's going on? Like, what do you think's up with these umpires? What do you think's up with the Major League Baseball in general?
I don't know. I don't understand either. I don't know why trying to crack down on stuff. I don't know. It's weird to me. Don't really know what to say about it. Stuff been doing this stuff for years, and all of a sudden, who knows what they're doing?
I mean, I just, I don't get it from a can of paint. It's just like, okay, but like, okay, even if it's a sticky substance, it's legal what they're using. I mean, what you want to make everything illegal in MLB, and then all of a sudden, like these pitchers don't really have nothing. I mean, I get it. You don't want the pitcher to get a firm, like to get an absolute grip on the baseball, where like the ball is really moving and it's doing like, and I get it. You don't want it to get to that end of it, but like at the end of the day, it's not like the pitchers are on purposely doing what they're doing. Like at some time, you want to dry your hands, you want to wipe it, you want to like make it so that like your sweat or anything else isn't like getting the best of it. But I mean, it's just to me, it's just I just think in some ways it's the umpires that are taking too much control because it's just like, oh well, if we told you like but they follow protocol. So it's like, why? Like, and on top of that, these managers are getting ejected. And that's another question is, when, especially like the last two instances that I'm familiar with, because one was the Yankees and the Reds last week. And then I forget what the other one was. But I think it involved the Yankees twice, where Reds manager and the Yankees manager both got ejected because the umps did not throw out the pitcher. And instead, they allowed them to come back in. And then once they were explained, it's like, why didn't they get ejected whenever we've already seen in two previous instances or so that two pitchers did get ejected? I'm starting to see that Major League Baseball might be following in some of the footsteps of the NFL because it's just like they don't understand, like, what's happening or they don't understand the rule book. It's just like, okay, but if you're going to eject other pitchers for what they did and like in whatever it was that occurred, but you're going to have two other pitchers go wash their hands and everything, like, okay, but like in some sense though, I get where the managers are coming from because it just shows like, oh well, you're doing this versus you're doing that, and it's just like you're not, fully instituting the role. And I get that. And something should be brought up about that, but at the same time, it's like, you tell a player to go wash their hands and do it in front of an MLB official, like what should be like I don't get what the umpires are trying to get out of this, but more importantly, I also don't think that the manager should rightfully be ejected. I mean, the manager's just inquiring about what's going on. They have a right to. But it's like ejecting them though. Like, I mean, it's like, are you ejecting them because they're just calling you out and you just don't know how to take it?
Yeah, it's weird.
It is. I mean, I just I I love baseball, but whenever it comes to these smaller components, it just and before we go, this is one other question, just because I know it's going to be a hot topic because it's the end of May. It's going to be June, July, August, and before we know it, baseball is probably going to be over. But Shohei Ohtani, there's a lot of people predicting that if he doesn't re-sign with the Angels, that the front runner is going to be the LA Dodgers. And then there are teams in the mix, like the Red Sox, I believe. I know the Yankees are another potential suitor. And then there's the Phillies and a couple other teams. When do you think the Otani sweepstakes are really going to get hot? And based off of his performance, what contract do you think a team will be able to afford for him?
You get anywhere 500, 600 million, man. Close. Pitching and hitting. Uh, yeah, I think the Dodgers are really gearing up to try to sign him in this offseason. Because that's why they didn't really spend too much money this past offseason. I think they're going to try to throw all their eggs in that basket. And of course, the Yankees probably be involved. Boston. Ain't If I'm the Angels, I would try to get a deal done right now if we can, because you can't let them just walk.
Well, I know that Otani was talking about how he wanted to see if the Angels were going to be contenders and make the playoffs. Because I know there's a lot of pressure on them to do that. Because it's just like, you potentially have two of the best players in all of Major League Baseball, and it's just, what are you doing? Like where has your team gone? They've only been to the playoffs one time with Mike Trout, and that was in 2013. But they haven't seemed to have done anything since then, and it's just like that's what a lot of people are looking at in certain ways. I think he's going to command at least 5 or 6 million. The whole issue is do you think he's going to be able to continue what he's doing?
I think so.
I have
All it matters kind of work you put in the off season, staying in shape, keeping your body in shape, getting the proper rest, and yeah, he should be able to.
I have faith that he can do what he needs to do to get what he needs to get done, so that he can.
Yeah, at least for the next maybe 4 or 5, 6 years. I think as you get older, you're gonna have to choose which one you're gonna want to do.
It's
'Cause,
crazy the power that Otani has. I was
yeah,
watching the World Baseball Classic batting practice that he had at Lone Depot Park. I'm like, this dude really just hit a baseball off the scoreboard out there, and like he made it look so easy. And I'm just like, that's raw power. But like, it's just I don't know. It's gonna be fun. Hopefully the Angels they can make the playoffs, but if they don't, and I mean, let's put it this way, I could see why they would probably say the Dodgers are the front runners because you never know if this is going to be the last season or if the Dodgers might try to re-sign Kershaw for one more year and try to go and get Otani and then make it a World Series to send Kershaw out and just finally say, hey, the Dodgers, they were able to get it done.
yeah. I mean, and right now, Tani and Trout staying pretty healthy too. So you got Hunter Renfro, got 10 homers. Still need to get a little bit more out of Rendon. He's batting
Oh,
3-0, batting 301, but only got 1 homer. And on the 10-day DL, of course, right now.
I heard that a lot of people were saying that Rendon signing was just awful.
Yeah. Well, the Angels are known for making bad signings. Rendon, Gary Matthews Jr., Josh Hamilton.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, all of those,
Yeah,
even the Albert Pujols signing was kind of bad too. It's just like, really?
yeah, in terms of the years and money they gave him, yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, even looking at it right now, like the Angels are in third place. They're 28 and 25, but they're 6 games behind and 6-4 in their last 10. They're 15 and 12 at home, but they're 13 and 13 on the road. So I mean, it's honestly tough. But I mean, the Angels are a big draw for sure. I mean, right now it's the end of 2 months or going on that, so it's like we'll see where everything goes from then. But
Well, at least they were five.
oh
At
yeah,
least
they're
they,
still 500 for
at least,
sure. I
at
mean,
least they were 500. That's where they past where they've been in the past.
that's a positive. I
Yeah.
mean, yes, that is one true positive is being over 500 for them because I know for much of like last season, like they had that 17-game winning streak, and then like after that, like they just kind of just plummeted in like in an unexpected way, and then it was just like, yeah, that wasn't good.
Yeah, and I knew the Rangers were going to be solid because they got Bruce Bochy as their manager.
Yeah, Rangers at 33 and 18. They
Yeah,
are really solid right now. I don't know what it is about the Bruce, man. It just seems like anytime he gets onto a team, he just works his magic and like the team's just really good. But I mean, I guess you could honestly say that, I guess Rangers fans are anticipating that, hey, like this is really the return on the investment considering what they did like 2 off seasons ago, and now they're starting to see some of that, really transpire.
Yeah, and they're getting good pitching. That's what it is. That's what turnaround is. Rabochi came in and built that pitching staff up. Nathan Eovaldi 6-2 with a 2.60 ERA. You got John Gray 5-1 with a 2.81 ERA. Then you got Martin Perez 6-1 with a 3.83 ERA. So they got Andrew Hank. They got solid pitching.
Oh
That's
yeah.
been a turnaround. They always had a good hitting since the '90s. It just was the pitching never came around or got built up.
That's true. I mean, I guess Texas is a prime example of, you could have a nice offense, but their pitching's really consistent, and that's honestly why they are where they are. Because then you actually have to think, I mean, will the Astros make a run and eventually take first place, or do the Rangers essentially have this division won? I mean, that's why there's another couple months worth of baseball, and that's the great part. But at the end of the day, it's just it's one of those, ordeals. But I know we are about to run out of time. Is there anything more you wanted to add?
No, I'm good.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this edition of the MLB Inside the Diamond podcast. For LaMarr Fields, I'm Tom Johnston, and we'll see you guys next week.